Let's do this. And we are back for our second episode of the DELO podcast. And today I am excited and honored and happy to have my father, the original DELO. Did they ever call you DELO?
Yes, yeah, in high school.
In high school they called you DELO.
The original.
The original. So obviously my dad, he just turned 70, it was August 6th of last year, and I am turning 45 tomorrow. So I wanted to have my dad on a podcast with me and talk about his beginnings and kind of cultivate where I got into the industry because of him and watching him as a kid and doing all that sort of stuff. So Dad, tell me, or tell our listeners here, where were you born and how long did you stay out there?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York. Then we moved to New Jersey when I was about 7 years old. So basically grew up in part New York and part New Jersey.
Gotcha. And when, basically you have two sisters, right? My aunts.
Right.
And then your grandparents, were they pretty involved in your life in New York when you were out there?
Yeah, grandparents on both sides. It's a typical Italian family.
And where were they originally from?
Well, I'm half Sicilian and half Napolitan, Naples, so they were from Italy.
They were from Italy, so I would be, your second generation off the boat, and I'm probably third, I guess that would be. Pretty close to that. So what were your parents like, and what did they do for work, or
Well, my father's name was Guido. He went by Ed. Served in World War II. They took him out of high school. In other words, he didn't even get to graduate. And his two brothers also were in World War II with him. They were all in the Navy. In fact, one of my uncles, his ship went down, and my other uncle's ship, they actually got him out of the water. And that was, World War II. They were fighting the Japanese. So.
And then when he got back from the war, did he have a?
Well, he went to school to learn drafting, and he was a salesman, basically. But that's what he was all his life, and he was selling kitchen equipment for restaurants and bars. But where he had an advantage is, for example, I remember when I was a little boy, he took me to the Tavern on the Green in New York, and he was trying to sell equipment, but he could sit there with the chef and draw. Okay, how the chef wanted the kitchen or whatever, where a lot of these other salesmen couldn't do that. So that was kind of an advantage he had. And he always wanted to own his own restaurant, and he did. Tavern on the Green in New Jersey. I believe that was the name. It probably wasn't the name of it. It'll come to me when I'm not thinking about it. But anyway, they had downstairs is where the Kiwanis Club met, and then there was the next floor is they had their big bar and restaurant and everything, and then the top floor was for weddings, bar mitzvahs, etc. Because back east, they would rent a hall, and that's what they had up there. And so anyway, he was in the restaurant business until he passed away.
What were some of the things he told you about the restaurant business?
Well, basically, they're going to steal from you. It's just a matter of how much,
Right.
And business was, I tell you, I respect people that are in this business because it's pretty damn tough on him. I mean, he worked his butt off.
Yeah.
And we're not talking 40 hours a week. I mean, just unbelievable, the work that's put into that, just totally unbelievable.
Yeah, unfortunately I didn't get to have many memories with Grandpa, but I do remember him. So how old were you when you ended up leaving New York and you went to Colorado for college, right?
Yeah, I got recruited by a number of schools to play football. So I went to Colorado State University, graduated from there with a degree in business, in 1971. I was Mr. Colorado twice. They had two different associations on there. And I always had a dream of, when I was a little kid, looking at a globe, looking at, you can think this is crazy, Australia or Arizona. For some reason Alaska's not in there. But anyway, I sent resumes out to run a health club, got a job in Arizona doing it, didn't like it for the simple reason it was that just pressure sales. That's not me. Don't. I thought I was going to be in here to help people, but anyway, so I ended up with a job with Allstate.
Yeah, so going back, you're in Colorado. You met my mom there, and then you guys ended up coming out to Arizona. And when he says Mr. Colorado, he's talking about in bodybuilding. He did bodybuilding back then, and he still does it now, which is pretty remarkable in itself. But he was Mr. Colorado twice out there. So you moved to Arizona. You went and you didn't want to do the health club thing. You were obviously going to do something in sales with already that inherent background of our grandparents or whatever. And you got a job with Allstate. So tell me, how long was your career there, and what was that like back in the, I guess that would be the late 70s, early 80s, working for a direct writer?
Well, I was with Allstate from, I started out in 1972, February, and left them May of 1988 to open up the Ambassador Group. And the big reason I did that is, heck, I was 38 at the time. I was one of Allstate's bigger producers. Leaving them, there was a non-compete clause, so pretty scary, because, that's 16 and a half years I'm leaving behind and I can't touch for 2 years. But at that age, I just figured, if there's only one company and rates go up, and all insurance companies have rate increases, who's kidding who? Well, all I can do is get on top of my desk and do a tap dance for my clients. But you can do a tap dance for just so long as rates keep going up. So I chose to be an independent broker because this way I can deal with many companies. So one company may be good for a certain amount of years, 5 or 6 or 3, and then they get stupid. Maybe they had a lot of losses or whatever, and boy, their rates just skyrocket. We don't have to lose a client. We can go ahead and reshop it and look, for another company to put it in. So it was worth the risk, and it's paying off in deuces now, because a lot of direct writers have left.
They're becoming dinosaurs.
Well, if you notice, look at, who was it? Allied got rid of all of their agents, and Allied is owned by Nationwide.
Yeah.
So there's fewer and fewer direct writers, because you can't survive with one company.
Yeah. So you made obviously a conscious business choice back in there, being at Allstate for, what was it, 11 years? How long were you there?
16 and a half
16
years.
and a half years, and you were their top producer in your territory for 13 of those years, or?
In the state, territory, the whole
Yeah.
bit. I was their so-called agent of the year, 14 out of 14 years.
You pretty much hit a ceiling with them, and like you said, there was only a certain amount of options that you had, really being one. And so with that being said, you were like, okay, let's start a new business, and you started Ambassador Group, and obviously that is where we're at now in this time and day, that you still own, and we own together, and it's awesome. When you first started Ambassador Group, I think, wasn't the first office when I was a kid playing around, wasn't it off of Scottsdale and Shea there?
Yeah, yes it was, right.
So it's an area in Arizona, it's Old Town Scottsdale, which I believe back in the day there was, like, after Shea, there wasn't much of anything really built up north of that. I think there was a little bit, right?
Yeah, they started building in that area seriously in the 70s.
Yeah. And before Ambassador Group started, or maybe even venturing into that, did you used to have, how did you get business? Let's just say back in Allstate, when you first started, what was your means of getting business back then? What was your method?
Just knock doors.
You would actually walk to a house and knock on the door?
Yeah.
And what would you say to them?
just tell them, I'm with Allstate Insurance Company, if you can let me know when your homeowners is coming due or auto, maybe I can save you some money.
It just sounds crazy in this day and age. It's
I still have, that's 47 years ago, I still have clients on the books that I've written 47 years ago, plus their children, their children, their children's children.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I got them knocking doors.
It's pretty remarkable. If you were to ask somebody to go knock on doors nowadays, people are scared to get shot or told to leave.
Well, I'll give you an example. Had a kid here knocking doors for Anderson Windows. And basically, he ended up with a nice deal because me and my wife were talking about having some of the windows redone, especially in the front of the house, because of the noise factor. It was only single pane. So he got a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't you also back then have what was called Microfiche? Because we didn't have internet.
Well,
back
then, no. When it first started, we had tear-out cards. Where you tear them out and you put them in little files. It tells you any changes that were made or whatever. And we get those twice a week and then have to get rid of the other ones and re-put them there. And then we'd have to carry them around on there. So when Microfiche came out, I mean, you thought it was from God. Unfrickin' believable. I mean, heck, you just get these little things twice a week and everything is on it. You didn't have to perforate cards or whatever. It's a miracle. And then the computer came and a big thick thing, and you can rate real slowly, one company. And then, as computerism progressed, same thing with cell phones, what they can do with it, because again, when we didn't have cell phones, basically, we drove to appointments, and if you got lost, you had to find a payphone. Some people don't know what payphones are because they're not around anymore. So you'd have to find a payphone, and no, there were no tracking devices that you have on, on your phone that tells you how to get there or whatever. No. You get directions from the client, and make a left here, 3 rights, forward,
We're only talking the 80s, people. This is not that long ago either, which is absolutely crazy. And I know that when you would write contracts, wouldn't you have like 3 different forms? One you tear out, have to give to the company, one for your records, and one for them. And it was that's just
there's no such thing as
DocuSign on the computer.
There's no such thing as really email.
Yeah.
There was no email, and then we'd have like an old copy, a copy machine, the old day type thing. You put it in there, one sheet at a time type of thing.
Wow. Has your sales method over the years changed at all, or have you always just been just straight out, this is what I do, and I can offer you the best service and shop around for you?
No, you have to change, or else you die. Then you become a dinosaur as far as the reasoning for selling and taking care of clients. No, that part hasn't changed. You wanted, integrity is important. I know it sounds like everybody's going to say, well, yeah, it is. And to be honest with you, we'll walk away from it. I'll tell you, I will. If a client, doesn't want to take in my opinion, the correct coverage, and it's quite obvious, no, hey, let's be friends. If we can't do business now, let's be friends, and I'm walking. Because I don't want something to happen, and then all of a sudden, I'm getting sued.
Yeah.
Because the client, I forgot about that, or whatever. No, don't need it. Be covered properly, or
and probably more times than not, by doing that, you've had clients and people of the such come back to you 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road.
I've had it happen where a client lists, uninsured, underinsured motors. No, I can't sell a policy without it matching limits. One of the clients said, I don't want the coverage. I said, no, nothing I can do about it. She went somewhere else, and guess what? Came back to me a couple of years later, but told me about the accident she had, and it was with an uninsured driver. And it ended up costing her, about 30 grand because the guy who hit her didn't have a blank to blank in.
Yeah, that's tough. Have you basically seen? Well, I guess tell us or tell the listeners what you've seen as far as increases in auto and home prices, you know, just on a median basis. Like, what was the average home policy back in 1980?
Oh, God, you know, we back in the, remember knocking doors in the 70s for homeowners, the policies were $39, $59 for full homeowners policies. So when I went through a neighborhood, I remember one neighborhood, hell, I made, God, almost 50 sales, so.
And houses were, what, 60,
Yeah.
100,000 maybe back then?
No, they were lower than that. My first house I got in Scottsdale with a swimming pool, and God, that was like around 1973 or 4. Paid $27,500 for it, and it was in, you know, Scottsdale. Had a swimming pool, you know.
Yeah.
So that house today would probably go for, and it's on the south side of Scottsdale, I would say for over 300.
Wow. Wow, yeah, things definitely change over the years, and auto rates as well, and I'm sure you've seen with the more expensive cars and the texting and driving and all the stuff that happens in this day and age, just a lot heavier types of claims and a lot more damages and you know, a lot more people getting sued for stuff.
Well, unfortunately, Arizona, they do need some tort reform, but where the problem comes in, most of the politicians are attorneys. So, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
we need some tort reform.
When you had originally left the health club and you kind of going back and you got back into insurance, or you got into insurance, did you ever think you would ever leave insurance, or was it just one of those things that you just started doing and that you knew from that time on that was going to be your end all be all?
End all be all. You know, there were a couple other things I thought I'd take a crack at on the side, but you know, Guido told me something a long time ago. Don't be a jack of all trades, be a master of one.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. You know, if you go out there and try and do too many things, you're just not going to be the best you can be, my personal opinion.
What's been over the years, has your workday changed at all? Are you pretty much just
Well, when I started out, and probably for about the first 20 years, I mean, I had 2 appointments a night. Yeah, honest to God. I worked Saturdays, tried not to work on Sundays, but that might happen too, and that's ridiculous, I agree. But basically in the 80s, there wasn't as many appointments, but again, computerization got better. So, it's changed. It hasn't changed the work ethic, it's just that I could do a hell of a lot more with a lot less effort as opposed to what we did in the past. In the past, you know, realistically, I was working 70 hours a week, probably more in some cases. Now, I'll work 35 hours.
So you're a fan of technology, it would be wise to say. What, as far like other agents that are your age, this day and age, that are still working, do you have advice for them on how to, you know, keep hanging in there?
Well, just do what you do. Make sure you understand the technology and use it, or else you're a dinosaur. You know, it's just a matter of time. I mean, I had a good buddy of mine, and he's passed away, but old George, he just, you know, he just didn't even know how to work a computer or whatever. You know, you're done.
Yeah, it just you gotta move with the times one way or the other. And I know you're on Facebook and you do a lot on the computer, and you do all of your own work still. And I know that, you know, age is really just a number nowadays. I'm starting to think that and feel that myself. And it's just, if you don't use it, you end up losing it. And you know, that's no way to, in my opinion, be no way to really live in that essence. So what would you say frustrates you the most about the insurance industry in general, or even owning a business?
The lack of loyalty for most insurance companies. You know, I'm starting to get it now. You know, for example, you have a company that you've done business with, and I mean all agencies, not just, you know, for years and years and years. given them what they wanted, done a hell of a great job. And then, years later, okay, and you're still writing for the company, you get a letter, hey, by the way, your commissions are cut by 33%
Right.
or whatever. You know, that's, not even somebody coming out or coming in, and this is to all, you know, agencies that are out there, so it kind of makes you think, and it's true, that's why I'm glad I'm an independent, never put all your eggs in one basket. you
Yeah.
know.
'Cause-
Which means never, my personal opinion, shop with somebody who only has one company.
Yeah, right. I mean, our job as brokers is to find the best coverage and the, obviously for the best price out there, and to be able to have all the tools that we have. I know on the restaurant end, I have a multitude of tools, of contracts, of relationships that we've been, obviously we've earned and we've been blessed with, but having that is why people have us, and it's us to have the knowledge, you and your 40 plus years of, home and auto, and knowing and having seen probably any and every claim known to man, which, speaking of which, what are some of the craziest claims that you've seen, or some of the stuff that you, people thought was covered but wasn't, due to lack of insufficient?
Well, just typical stuff, like for example, if someone hits a deer or an elk, which we've had happen, or even what kind of boar, that's comprehensive, it's not collision. Okay, just trying to think, there's other examples.
So tell them about flood coverage, how most people don't have it, especially in Arizona.
Yeah, most people don't have flood insurance. It is, no matter what insurance company you go to, the rates are all the same because it's done by the federal government. But if you're not in a flood zone, I wouldn't recommend buying it.
Any crazy personal, like, not personal to you, but like claims that you've seen that you can't believe had ever happened?
Well, not really, but another one would be where people get really irate or confused is, let's say you have a windstorm or a heavy rainstorm, and you've got a tree in your backyard, and it goes down and it goes into the neighbor's roof. Guess what? Okay, you're not responsible for it, even though it was your tree, because it was an act of God. I've had that come up a number of times, and people really get upset. But
Yeah.
it's on every insurance policy. For example, I had one where a shed that was taken up in the air and blown into another house. Okay, well, again, the damage done to the other house
Yeah, it's crazy.
isn't covered, okay, because it's an act of God, but yet, the loss of the shed is covered on that person's homeowner's policy because it's,
So
other
many.
structures on the dwelling.
Yeah, so there's so many different things within policy form, and the types of policies that you buy, and what could or could happen. And
Well, there's other things too, like with cars, the joke game. Most companies cover OEM parts if you add it on there, okay? But on glass, they won't do it OEM in many cases, 90-something% of the companies. And the reason for it is that you have a Mercedes, okay, let's say a new one, all right? That Mercedes, I'm doing, I don't know the exact amounts, but for an example, that Mercedes window is not made by Mercedes. It's made by a certain glass company, and that thing costs $500, let's say, okay? But because the dealership puts on Mercedes sticker on there, okay, now it's $1,500. And the insurance company is saying, hey, we're going to put the same windshield on there from the same manufacturer, okay? But we're not going to put a little Mercedes on there and charge, the insurance company so much more. But that's going on, and and what you got to be careful on that is if any of you out there have a lease car, okay, and then you go to bring it back in, and it doesn't have the Mercedes sticker on it, they're going to charge you.
Wow.
So it's kind of like a catch-22.
Yeah.
So we try and at least let our clients know, you can't catch them all, you know?
Yeah, that's the details are in the contract for sure. That's crazy. So there's just a lot of stuff that goes along with insurance, and with experience you get to be better and better of learning what's, you know, included, excluded, all that sort of stuff. And again, it's another great reason why people count on us as brokers and owning a brokerage and working with the different companies and learning all the different policy forms best that, you know, we can, obviously. And having the relationships with the companies too, that if shit does hit the fan, we can pick up the phone and we can make those phone calls, and knowing, you know, that we've been around for so long that they'll take it and they'll take it seriously. So Dad, how did you feel about me getting into the business, or did you ever think that I would get into the business after I started doing all that stuff with Warner Brothers in college?
Yeah, I thought you would.
Yeah.
You know, I thought you would, and as the record industry went bye-bye because of computerism and all that other good stuff, and you started with this, but you did basically what you did when you had that company with
Diamond in the Rough.
Diamond in the Rough, is you target marketed. You like the restaurant and the bar end of it, you know, and I like the personalized part of it.
Yeah.
But what you did is you target marketed, and you know, in doing so, trying to make yourself an expert in that particular field of insurance.
Yeah, and that definitely was a leap of faith, because when I had first gotten in and we were at that one location together, I was writing any and everything. And I also think it's interesting for people to know that when I did come and work with you, I was literally working for somebody else, let alone myself, and I never got a salary. I worked, I remember my first paycheck was like $167, and I was running my other business, Diamond in the Rough, on the side, and then, you know, you were working your ass off and doing all the stuff that you needed to do to fund the company and do the stuff that we did. And through many reiterations of Ambassador Group, it finally had come to a point where it was better off being, you know, a father and son entity with some really good people that we've had involved for the last, you know, 19 years, up to 19 years. And so here we are sitting here today with a really nice business, and, you know, you're still in there working every day. You're one of the first ones in, one of the last ones to leave. I know that you also like to work out during the day, which makes me happy because, you know, you're healthy and you're good. I was just looking at your blood results, and those all look amazing. So tell them a little bit about your hobbies and some of the stuff you like to do when you're not working.
Sometimes I like to sit around and not do a damn thing. Okay, my hobbies are competitive bodybuilding. I still enjoy it, love it. Meet every day from 12 to 1 with me, trainer Ernie, and a couple other guys. I'll be 71, Ernie's in his 60s, Mike's in his 50s, and we got another gentleman in his 40s, and we all work together. So it's a lot of fun. And you know, what's kind of nice about it, I leave the office, when you're there, you're like in another world. And when you get done working out, the endorphins hit your brain, and man, a lot of that stress is gone. And then you go back, because we all have it, where you got this one client you're dreading, you got to talk to, whatever. Then you come back feeling good, positive mood, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and you've been doing that for the last 10 years straight in between other aspects of your life or whatever, and I know you love doing your shows, you do great in it, and you know, people love you, you know, the way that you do it. I would say your relation, I've learned a lot from you over the years as far as creating relationships and being, you know, loyal and ethical and always wanting to do the right thing, but if anything, I see a trend going on with my clients that are now with me for, you know, now 15 years and going on 16, 17 years and stuff like that, and it's neat because I learned a lot of that from you. I learned a lot from sitting in the back of the storage closet playing with my Millennium Falcon while you were on the phone with clients, and always hearing you talk to them, and it's definitely a great joy to, you know, hear me still talk to them every day. I'll sometimes put my ear to the door and just listen to you because you still are for sure on top of your game. So I know we had a little bit of a talk last year regarding the possibility of you finding something else to do, but I have a feeling that, you know, with some of the stuff that we've done already this year and part of last year, that you kind of have a new zest in you. Any future ideas of plans or anything that you want to do?
No, just keep it going the way it is.
Okay. Well, cool. Is it, you have any, before we head off on this podcast here today, do you have anything else to say to all the listeners and the people? And
No, just, be positive, go out there and get it. So I can tell you, and it's there.
very cool, very cool. Well, thank you guys for all listening. It's awesome to be able to have my dad on here, and he is my first guest podcast ever. This is my second podcast, and thank you all for listening to the first one if you did. If you did not, please go back and check that out. I'll be interviewing some upcoming chefs and restaurateurs and other people in regards to the hospitality industry and probably some other types of vendors and stuff like that have to do with the restaurant industry and also the insurance industry, and talk about some crazy claims that I've seen on the liquor liability and the assault and battery end of things. So got a lot of cool stuff coming up. I am on iTunes now and Spotify and all sorts of stuff, so definitely follow me there if you can. Yes?
I remember the name of Grandpa's restaurant.
Oh,
The Dayton Manor.
the Dayton Manor.
Yeah, Grossinger's and Tavern on the Green, those were two restaurants, I believe, in New York.
Yeah.
And my father, I remember him driving me to one of them, and that was Grossinger's.
And the Dayton Manor, was that in New Jersey?
The Dayton Manor was in New Jersey, correct.
Okay, yeah, and Tavern on the Green's still there. Kim and I and the boys, or Matthew, we took Matthew to New York last year, June. We went to Tavern on the Green.
Oh, it's still?
It's still there. It's on the green.
I remember, I was like 16 and I drove down with my father, yep.
Yeah, they had some pretty decent food, so. All right, well, good. See, it always comes back, and it's all good. So thank you again for listening. Please give me a 5-star, and please follow, and that's about it. So we'll talk to you soon, and peace out.
She just said, go fuck yourself. I don't know. Well, my son told me that. Stop telling people that